Garlic Pete.
I'm Garlic Mom.
And today we're going to go up to the Tehachapi junkyard and try to move a Bucyrus Erie 30H excavator, a hydraulic excavator. I think they were made from 1967 and 1970. It's a 30-ton machine. Hasn't run probably since the late 1980s, early 1990s. It has a 6V71 Detroit, which is not run forever and has 2 stuck injectors. And we're going to try to get this running. I'll do a screen share here because it's down here in the corner of the junkyard. Let me zoom in a little bit. And so here's the Bucyrus Erie. This is the main gate over here. Here's the Bucyrus Erie. There's a really nice 3-axle Peterbilt cab over here. This is our Bay City crane that we had some videos about already and we've been working on. And the excavator is sitting here kind of in the way, and we need to get into these machines here and kind of clear it out of the way. So the family said if we could get it running, they want us to walk it up this road and clear over to the other side of the site because the scrappers are going to be set up here and they want to cut it up here. So they want us to get it out of the way, help them get out of the way, and we want to get it out of the way so we can get to the stuff that we want. So Bobby's been working on the 6V71 for a while, and we'll go back to video here. And he couldn't get the injectors freed up, but I think he doesn't have a lot of experience with Detroits. I went over there yesterday with him and brought my Detroit overhaul kit, which consists of a 5-pound sledgehammer and a 3-foot bar and a 6-foot bar. And we did get the injectors freed up and got the engine turning over. I'll show you a little bit of footage of it turning over. We were having a hard time getting the fuel primed up, but we figured out that the fuel tank's in the belly of the excavator, and it has a supply line that comes out, goes to a spin-on filter, primary filter, then goes up to the lift pump on the engine and the secondary filter. And we figured out that there was an electric fuel pump that was primed into the primary filter head, but it was just pumping in a circle in and out of the filter. It wasn't actually pressurizing the line. So when you see the video here in a minute, you'll see we're cranking it and I'm opening the secondary fuel filter, and you see that there's no fuel coming out. But we've got all that resolved now. So this morning we're going to go up there and see if we can get it to move for the first time in 30 or 40 years. Don't know anything about it much other than I'll show you some images of the control layout inside the cab and some of the controls, and we're just going to experiment and see what happens. The basic controls consist of 2 hand levers that you can pull towards you and push away, and then on top of those are 2 handles you hold with your hands, and you can turn your wrist out or in, and those push buttons on the top. And then below those are foot pedals that you can rock forward or back with your toe and your heel, and various other buttons and stuff like that on the floor. Notice the little black foot pedal on the right. That will become important later. And then there are also a number of air controls and switches and stuff on side panel. And then there's a throttle lever, which is obvious what it does up on the top. And then on the side of the cab, there's this little placard that tells you basically what everything does. So we're going to fire up the engine and experiment a little bit and see if it'll propel or what'll happen here. Unfortunately, I didn't get a recording of the actual engine startup and the first working of the machine, but you can see in this still photo where the red circles are the hydraulic fluid sheeting off the side of the machine. And when we first started it, you'll notice the red circled 1.5-inch line that goes down the boom. That's the return line for the braking hammer that was on the front of it. And when we started it, everything was fine. But as soon as we started to try to operate the controls, that hydraulic fluid started sheeting off the side of the machine about probably 20 gallons an hour or 20 gallons a minute or something, a lot of fluid. And we took off the side panels and we discovered that the 1.5-inch return line there was blown, and that's probably why the machine was parked. So we thought we were dead in the water because
we'd lose all the oil overboard before we could ever get it to move. But then remember I mentioned that little black foot pedal electric switch. Well, we traced the lines and we discovered that 1.5-inch line went into a valve block with an electric solenoid on it. And remember I mentioned that black electric foot pedal switch. We discovered if we stepped on the switch, it diverted the flow and no fluid would leak. So we could operate the machine, but I had to remember to keep one foot on that switch at all times in order to not pump fluid overboard at dramatic levels. Also, notice the air line running up through the red circle there and to the back of the machine. The machine has an air compressor and it has an air tank just like a truck, which, like most trucks that are old, has a pinhole in it so it wouldn't build air. So for a while we were trying to operate it with no air pressure, and we figured out that the wrist controls are push buttons that operate air functions, and also part of the travel, it needs air to release the brakes so that it will travel. And so you'll here in a little bit, I'm going to start the videos that show it operating from 4 different views. And initially you'll see me flailing around and I can only get a couple of functions to work. And then we hook up an air line and charge it with an air compressor that can keep up, and things work a lot better there. But you'll see in the beginning, the tracks are all froze up. It's very stiff. I kind of have to push it with the dipper and wrist to get it to move and lift it up to turn. And then the more we work it, the better it gets. So here we go with some of the video of trying to get it to move for the first time in 30 or 40. About here is where we figured out to hook up the airline and get some additional functions working, and you'll see that that's much more helpful. So here you can see with the air controls hooked up and all the functions working, and we're starting to get it figured out. We can use the stick and the dipper to push the machine and kind of get the tracks exercised, and the tracks are starting to free up, and we can rotate it by swinging the house. So it's all starting to come together. So this will take you kind of to through the first phase of getting the thing to move. Come back for episode 2 and you can watch the rest of the move.